Hi, I'm Alec, a sales engineer here at Pixalate. I'm based in San Jose, California, and I've been with the company for 4 years. One of our more frequently asked questions here at Pixalate is how supply chain object reporting works. I'd like to walk you through that today and provide insight into how Pixalate analyzes the supply chain object to eliminate ad fraud risk and pinpoint fraud source. We'll start by taking a deeper look at the supply chain object and reporting within the analytics dashboard. Before we jump into the tool and go over the use cases, we want to first provide background information so you have a solid understanding of who Pixalate is, the accreditations we hold, terminology we use, and our findings. Pixalate is the market-leading advertising fraud protection, privacy, and compliance analytics platform for connected TV, mobile apps, and websites. We offer analytics, which we'll be talking about today, and blocking tools, as well as a media ratings terminal, which is the complete risk management platform for the open web. We also offer the industry's first COPPA compliance tool for mobile and CTV apps. Pixalate is MRC accredited, and this applies for desktop, mobile web, mobile in-app, and CTV. Beyond invalid traffic, Pixalate is accredited for over 20 metric areas, spanning served impressions, viewability, click-through conversions, and server-side ad insertion metrics. This analytics solution and dashboard is based on first-party data, which can be passed back via a JavaScript tag or 1x1 pixel. It can also be made accessible via the reporting API. The information and use cases we'll be covering today include supply path optimization and supply path objects, supply path validation, supply path verification, confirmation of chain length, identification of unknown sellers, filtering for a given supply chain object string or seller, verification reason codes and the most appropriate actions to take, the setting up of custom reports that can be exported, and alerts based on certain reason codes or even chain length. This last point is of particular relevance as findings from the Q1 2023 SCO trends report shows 55% higher average invalid traffic rate when a chain is marked as incomplete, indicating obscured supply chains having a higher IVT score. When discussing supply path optimization or SPO, it's important to understand the relevance of the supply chain object, also referred to as SCO. This value represents the buying path from a given piece of inventory to the end demand partner. Now let's jump into the dashboard to learn more. The supply chain object reports will populate on the left-hand side under supply path optimization. As you can see here, there are a few breakouts. We have mobile, CTV, and domain-specific supply chain object reports. For the purpose of this video, we'll be focusing on the mobile dataset. When examining the report, there's a few helpful header pieces of information to call out. You'll be shown not only gross traffic, but also percentages tied to the completeness or incompleteness, the validity of a chain or invalid chain percentage. We also have breakouts by the direct seller unauthorized percentage and chain length breakouts by 1, 2, 3, or more hops. Within the dashboard, there are some default parameters. In this case, for mobile, we have app ID, the supply chain object itself, the supply chain object reason codes, which can range, as you can see, from a valid SCO, meaning there is no error necessarily, to other areas such as direct seller not authorized, and even publisher missing in the supply chain object as well. Additionally, we have some performance metrics when it comes to gross ad counts, net viewability, IVT percentage, and also have a supply chain object chain length, which can be very useful as well. While additional dimensions and metrics are available to add, for the purpose of this video, we'll be focusing on the supply path dimensions and metrics. As a starting point, it's helpful to also include a path complete, but you may be able to add in specific nodes if you see fit as well. So we'll add in path complete and can start leveraging some of the data within the dashboard. If we'd like to check for all chains that are not complete, we can simply sort until we get a no, and then filter for that. Apply that filter. And if we'd like to see perhaps which sellers are tied to these paths, we can also add that in. Slide that right next to the app ID. And let's say we'd like to further evaluate, we can always export and further troubleshoot from there. So once you have a report like this, you can decide to take action with the given sellers or nodes identified in that supply chain object or block them altogether if you'd wish to not work with incomplete paths. Let's take a look at a couple other use cases. We'll remove the current filters and sort by gross ad counts. We can filter by the first non-valid SCO reason code, and in this case, direct seller not authorized. If there's a focus beyond reason code, such as seller, that can be incorporated as well. From here, a user can monitor and take action on the different unique paths tied to the seller ID. To save and schedule this report to be sent out, we can label it as direct seller not authorized, seller 1 report, and then from there input the email addresses you would like to have it sent to. Important note to include commas between each email, and from here we can select the desired frequency. Here we've sent it to daily. This report would now be emailed on a daily basis so the user can keep an eye on performance of the seller tied to its unique chains. Now let's see what other dimensions can be applied. We can add in up to 4 specific nodes, allowing the user to see where patterns exist or issues come into play regarding seller 1. We can also take a look at a specific set of inventory, focusing on a given seller to see how performance plays across that partnership. And for reference, users have the ability to look at apps and domains to see how all chains perform. As you can see here, we have an 80% valid versus invalid rate, indicating we may want to shift focus on the invalid chain rate and further filter from there. In this case, we will set the reason code filter to does not equal valid SCO. Here, we are only looking at the non-valid supply chain objects tied to this given app ID, providing further information as to the types of errors and where the greatest impact is felt across sellers. One last helpful preventative measure: to keep on top of chain links, a user can simply create a threshold. In this example, we will monitor every chain that is greater than 2 hops, take action with any chains of 3 or more. Again, this can be saved to look back on at a later date or scheduled to send on a recurring basis. In future videos, we'll further dissect performance in various ways such as brand safety, compliance and privacy, and made for advertising inventory. With Pixalate's analytics solution, you'll have the tools you need to dive deep into performance metrics and dimensions, make informed decisions, and drive results for your business. If you'd like to learn more, please contact your dedicated representative today.